We're heading towards the Pyrenees, but not quite to the high mountains just yet for stage 14 of the Tour de France. Carcassonne to Quilon, 184 kilometers of medium mountain, and with that descent finish and no high mountain climbs, not much incentive for the GC contenders to get involved today, so breakaway it would be, and the fight to get in that break lasted for the best part of 2 hours. Kruijswijk and Jumbo-Visma trying to get involved, Mohoric and Alaphilippe multiple times trying. Trek getting involved in almost every move. Julien Bernard on the front. Remember him from Mont Ventoux stage 11, working for Mollema and Kenny Elissonde? Well, he was back today. And yeah, if you want to watch the dynamics of a breakaway trying to form today's stage, watching the first hour and a half of that is a really good one to watch. Sparagli went up the road solo. He later be joined by teammate Jonas Ricard, Turgi, and Chevalier, and I think Tom Schkerns as well for Trek Segafredo, making a group of 5, but that's not the final break, this one here. It's not strong enough. They were yo-yoing between 10 and 40 seconds as people like Magnus Cort kept attacking behind, joined again by Jumbo-Visma, and notice the 2 Trek riders always trying to get in a move, Nibali the last one, and it wasn't until 80 Ks was done at the base of Montsegur that Wout Poels was the man who really initiated the final break of the day. He had Fuglsang on the wheel, then Catania. He dropped Jakob Fuglsang, who's not looking too good at this Tour de France. They'd later be joined by Mike Woods, with Quintana dropped in the polka dots jersey. The battle between Woods and Poels for the polka dot jersey, given that they're within 3 points of each other before the start of today's stage, dominated these early Category 2, Category 3 climbs. Poels taking a point or two back on Mike Woods there on the Cat 2, and they were being chased by a group of strong climbers in Esteban, Chaves, Guillaume Martin, Patrick Konrad, Bauke Mollema, Fraile, Higuita, and Louis Meintjes. Guillaume Martin, the closest on GC of that group, about 9 minutes back, 9:50 back. Poels and Woods, who eventually were caught by them, and we finally had our break of the day, or so we thought, until a group of 4 French riders from behind, presumably B&B, got the call from the car to get in the break. The break was 2 minutes ahead. The peloton didn't care at all, and they had to chase and close that 2-minute gap. Pierre Rolland, Madouas, Jesbert, and Quentin Pacher. They eventually made the bridge, but at what cost? And so now let's evaluate who is in this break and what their ambitions are. We've got Chaves, really good climber. People are going to be concerned about him for the last climb. Catania, maybe there to gain some more time on GC, get into the top 10. More of a diesel. Poels and Woods going primarily for polka dots. The 2 B&B guys cooked from closing that gap, and then Pierre Rolland's going to attack for no reason in a second. Madouas tired. Guillaume Martin going a little bit for GC as well. Fraile not on the best form, won't rate his climbing too much. Higuita's really quick, people will be concerned about him on the climb. And you got Bauke Mollema as well, who's a good all-rounder and solid climber, but probably not as good as Woods. But he was never setting the pace on these climbs too much. He was pulling turns when they were trying to establish the break, but he was riding pretty smart in this group. Whilst Woods and Poels, and I thought Woods was the strongest out of this group, they were fighting at every KOM, doing sprints, and we saw this in the first week as well when Poels was dangling out the front going for these KOM points. It would cost him later in the stage, and Woods also crashed, so we don't know what level Woods would really have had at the end of this stage. I think after the crash, it understandably knocked him a little bit. You then saw him in the next corner, it doubled back again through this corner. He nearly missed it, but he got back on eventually. With about 45 Ks to go, Pierre Rolland attacked for B&B, and straight after that, Bauke Mollema countered. And look who's on the front trying to close it. Wout Poels, who's been sprinting at the top of every climb of the day. Esteban Chaves just finished a pull, and the 2 B&B guys, they're the only team with multiple riders in the break. They are out of position because you'd expect one of them to get on the front and try and bring Mollema back ASAP. And so the question is, how can this group of 13 riders not bring back Bauke Mollema? And the answer is not all of them were really contributing 100%. There's riders going for polka dots, there's riders who are tired from attacking, there's riders who have just crashed, there's riders who in the last hour bridged a 2-minute gap to them, and then there's other riders like Konrad and Fraile who are concerned that the 2 Colombians you can see in picture are just going to drop them on the last climb anyway. GC, by the way, forget about them. Don't worry your head about GC today after the break went. There was absolutely no action in the GC group. And Mollema, he wanted to get that gap out to 1 minute or 50 seconds as quickly as possible so that a rider like Guillaume Martin or Higuita or Esteban Chaves couldn't just attack at the base of the last climb and bridge that themselves. Now Guillaume Martin, with that gap at 1:08, he's thinking a little bit about general classification. He's now second in the virtual general classification because of that gap UAE are letting them have. And so Mollema, who's not a guy who's like 55 kilos, whilst he was pulling solo, he's pulling against a group where Chaves and Higuita and Meintjes are doing a lot of the work on the front with Rolland and Pacher, sometimes contributing Pacher, but a little bit tired. So he gets to the base of the last climb, Saint Louis, 4.7 Ks long, 1 minute 16 gaps. So unless he completely explodes, even with that steep section, it's going to be very unlikely for one rider to bridge that. It's not like it's 20, 30 seconds. And then in the group behind, Chaves immediately increases the pace on that steep section, redlines almost everybody. Woods did look in pretty good condition. Maybe if it was 20 seconds and he hadn't crashed and he wasn't going for polka dots, he could have bridged. You can see why riders like Freire weren't wanting to invest too much because they got dropped straight away. Higuita then does the same thing as Chaves. Chaves' second wheel, they're looking for Konrad just behind Chaves to pull through. He doesn't, and so that's more examples of the lack of cooperation in this group. Jesper and Menkes are just trying to hang on whilst Mollema's onto the 5% section. He's over the worst part. Catania is now pulling that front group with Konrad sitting on before Konrad attacks him afterwards in the last 200 meters of this climb. Woods, he takes the KOM points. The stage is gone with a minute gap to Bauke Mollema, but he's going into the polka dot jerseys tonight. It goes without saying, and we can talk about all the non-cooperation and tactics as we like, but it's obvious that Bauke Mollema also had insane legs today, and he was also able to moderate his effort really well to not blow up on that last climb. Not many riders can actually do that. And so with a splintered group behind, with Higuita trying his best to pull, but again, he's a small guy on the flat. Catania's pretty cooked after that climb. Bauke Mollema wrapped this up with a 40-kilometer solo breakaway attempt, as is his wont. That's how he won his first Tour de France stage, a 30k solo break. He ground them down in Trofeo La Guelia earlier this year against the likes of Egan Bernal, and a fantastic win for him today. Konrad coming second, beating Higuita in the sprint, was actually pretty impressive. I think Konrad can win some World Tour races in the right scenario. Guillaume Martin moves to second on GC because UAE weren't bothered at all by that. Rolling over the line in a big group, Pogačar said he had a good day today. Here's the final results. Bauke Mollema winning this stage, 1 minute and 4 seconds ahead of Konrad, Higuita, Catania, Woods, Freire, Jesper, Pacher, Menkes, and Esteban. Chaves. And a few changes in the general classification with Guillaume Martin moving all the way up to second, 1 minute and 14 seconds ahead of Rigoberto Urán, and Catania moving into 10th on 9:48. Martin's going to lose a lot in the TT, and he probably will lose some time before then because tomorrow's stage goes properly into the high mountains. The Enri de Grange in the Andorran stage, 15, 191 kilometers long, but the first 3 climbs are actually pretty steady gradients on wide roads. The last climb is actually quite steep, 6.6 k's at 8%, and the second k is very steep before the descent finished in Andorra la Vella. And Andorra is where I live, and I can tell you that it is hot here at the moment. It's hot today, it's supposed to be hotter tomorrow. We'll see if the weather conditions have an impact on the race and whether any other teams are able to put Tadej Pogačar under pressure. But I hope you liked the video. Like it down below if you did, and I'll see you with the recap of stage 15 tomorrow.